A tensão entre Donald Trump e Justin Trudeau está aumentando. O presidente eleito dos Estados Unidos, Donald Trump, mais uma vez mirou em Justin Trudeau, chamando-o de governador, entre aspas. Trump sugeriu várias vezes que o Canadá se tornasse um estado dos Estados Unidos, o que Ottawa insiste que é uma piada. Especialistas afirmam que Ottawa está focada e com razão na perspectiva de tarifas prejudiciais sobre a iminente presidência de Trump, em vez de se opor à retórica sobre anexar e comprar o Canadá. O que a gente vai ver hoje, pessoal? A gente vai ver uma matéria do Global News, um jornal aqui do Canadá, que analisa melhor essa situação, inclusive dizendo da iminência do Trudeau sair. Vai haver um voto de desconfiança do primeiro-ministro agora em janeiro e a gente vai entender melhor essa situação nesse vídeo, beleza? Vem junto comigo. Pessoal, lembra do like pro vídeo furar a bolha, é fundamental isso daí. Se inscreve no canal se ainda não é inscrito, a gente tá trazendo notícias quentíssimas praticamente todo dia aqui no canal. E para quem não sabe, a gente é o canal mais antigo de brasileiros sobre o Canadá. A gente mora no Canadá há mais de 15 anos e o canal tá ativo desde então. Então vem junto com a gente, beleza? Bora lá, vamos ver esse vídeo aqui que tá muito, muito interessante. Tem gente que reclama que não gosta de legenda, mas eu acho que é importante a gente ver na língua original, né, o vídeo. Beleza? Bora lá.
Pressure continues to mount on Justin Trudeau. Another member of his party is publicly demanding for him to step down as Prime Minister. Joining us now to talk about the latest in Canadian politics is Don Abelson from McMaster University. Thanks for being here.
Great to be with you, Mandalena.
So, Calgary Liberal MP George Chahal publishing a letter saying he's had enough of Trudeau's leadership. What do you think? Is it time for Trudeau to step down, and do you think he will?
Well, ultimately, it's going to be the Prime Minister's decision. We saw it played out in the United States several months ago with Joe Biden facing, critics from his own party. He ended up deciding to step down and allow Kamala Harris to run in his place. But these are such sensitive conversations and issues that they really should be discussed behind closed doors. It's humiliating for leaders. It's embarrassing. And at the very least, I think the Prime Minister deserves the respect from members of his party who have concerns, of course, but these should be discussed behind closed doors.
Interesting. And Conservative MP John Williamson says he'll put forward a non-confidence motion at a meeting on January 7th. If passed, it could bring down the government and trigger an election. How likely is this to happen?
I mean, it certainly could happen. There are a lot of moving parts right now. Prime Minister Trudeau is well aware of concerns within his party and his ability to lead. This is a very difficult decision for him to make, but at the end, he has to decide what is in the best interest of the country, not what is in the best interest for his political future.
Shifting gears now, President-elect Donald Trump once again firing shots at Trudeau, calling him governor on Twitter right after Christmas, and reiterating his idea to have Canada as the 51st state. Is this an indication that tension is rising between the two leaders?
Well, they had a fairly rocky relationship during the first term of Trump's presidency. These are antics that he often employs in order to get under the skin of world leaders. And Justin Trudeau will certainly find himself in the firing line, for the first few months of his presidency, unless, of course, he steps down before that happens. What Donald Trump is doing is baiting the prime minister. And the key is don't take the bait. The president-elect, soon to be president of the United States, often employs these strategies. He's delusional if he thinks that he's going to convince Canada to become the 51st state. He's completely delusional if he thinks that Denmark is going to give up Greenland, or if the United States is going to regain control of the Panama Canal. But these are just shots across the bow. It's not to say that Canada shouldn't take these issues seriously. We have to prepare for the second term, and I know that's what the Prime Minister and his advisors have been thinking about over the last several weeks.
You mentioned strategy. So is this sort of part of Trump's strategy? Perhaps he's not crazy about Trudeau and he knows he's weak right now, his own party coming after him. If he baits him online, is this sort of adding to that? Is he trying to weaken him in a way?
Well, he's trying to weaken him. He's trying to humiliate him. He's trying to embarrass him. But the reality is the bilateral relationship between Canada and the United States is among the most important relationships in the world. We share the longest undefended border on the globe, close to 9,000 kilometers in length. We engage in excess of $3 billion in two-way trade each day. What Prime Minister Trudeau and his advisors have to do is to convince the incoming Trump administration how important this relationship is and how critical it is to cooperate and to collaborate on issues that have become the focus of concern, whether it's the border, Canada's commitment with respect to defense and other sectors. It's very, very important for this relationship to remain strong and resilient. And we've seen throughout the course of our history with the United States that there have been some, very difficult times between our prime ministers and presidents. But this is why it is important for the relationship to endure, both at a personal level and certainly at a state level. But we're going to have to see what pans out. We'll likely see more of this from Donald Trump in the weeks and months to come. But Canada has to have an effective strategy to deal with a second Trump administration.
Well, you mentioned it's one of the strongest relationships in the world, and there are a lot of Canadians who are fond of Trump. So is this not a good look for Trump?
Well, it is. And again, what Donald Trump is trying to do is not only exploit the weaknesses of Justin Trudeau, but to reach out to Canadians who indeed support his policies, who also share concerns about the economy and immigration commitments on the world stage. So this drives a further wedge between Justin Trudeau and Canadians who we would have to depend on for support should he decide to remain before the next election.
Two of Trudeau's ministers ended their Christmas break early, Dominic LeBlanc and Melanie Joly, speaking to Trump's new administration regarding those proposed tariffs. Is this an action plan, and how likely is it to work?
Yeah, it is part of an action plan, and Canada is being proactive. They understand what kind of impact a 25% tariff would have on our economy, which would be devastating. So we have to, think about what options we have at our disposal to work with our allies in the Trump administration, our allies on Capitol Hill, and throughout the bureaucracy to ensure that our voices are heard. So Canada must remain a strong advocate for our interests. Of course, we represent two very different countries. At times, our interests align nicely, but we need to be proactive. We can't simply sit back and react. We need to have a plan moving forward and figure out what the best approach will be over the next 4 years.
And we'll have our eyes on it. Don, thanks for your expertise. That's Don Abelson from McMaster University.
Mais uma vez atualizando aqui para vocês, né, a situação. Tô trazendo aqui notícia nova praticamente todos os dias. Comentem o que vocês estão achando dessa situação. É uma situação que vai se alongar ainda, então vai ter muito desdobramento. A gente vai atualizar vocês com notícias de todas as fontes aqui da mídia canadense. Pessoal, lembra do like pro vídeo sair da bolha, isso é importantíssimo. Passa o vídeo pra frente, também espalha, né? E se você gosta do nosso conteúdo, principalmente agora nosso novo conteúdo aqui, né? A gente trazendo mais notícias políticas, né? Política internacional. Pensa na possibilidade de se tornar membro aqui do canal. O mais importante vai ser você ajudar o canal a continuar produzindo, né? Tem uma novidade, a gente traz. Além disso, além de ajudar o canal, você vai ter um conteúdo exclusivo também pros membros. Prêmio extra aí. Beleza? É isso, pessoal. Voltamos logo mais com mais conteúdo aqui. O que tiver de novidade a gente vai trazer. Beleza? Valeu e até a próxima.